Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the little delay, but thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited to welcome you to this special Crowdcast event, Acentrik and Ocean, Building the Data Ecosystem for Enterprises. So my name is Sheridan Johnson. I focus on ecosystem and partnerships at Ocean Protocol, and I have the distinct pleasure of moderating today's event. So let's dive in. Acentrik is a decentralized enterprise-grade data marketplace powered by Ocean Protocol and built by Mercedes-Benz Singapore. Acentrik is one of Ocean's most important and celebrated collaborations and has spanned over the past 2 years. This dynamic relationship is aimed at spearheading the shift towards unlocking the value of decentralized data and enabling greater data sharing amongst enterprises. So exactly how that's being done and what opportunities are being created, those are our main topics today. So let's start off. And to tell us more about that, we have an exciting lineup of special guest speakers joining us. First, we'll hear from Alex Coseru, Ocean's VP of Engineering. Alex will explain and explore Ocean's technical features. And then we hear from Elaine Silan, Customer Success Lead of Acentrik at Mercedes-Benz Singapore. Elaine will introduce us to Acentrik and what's being built on top of the Ocean stack. Following those two presentations, we'll have a panel discussion, and that panel discussion will be joined by Srikanth Kaja, General Manager and Principal Architect of Emerging Technologies at Mercedes-Benz Singapore, and Pierre Samaties at Roland Berger. They will join Alex Coseru from Ocean for an interactive panel discussion about strategies for launching successful Web3 enterprise projects, as well as growing trends in Web3 adoption. So that's kind of what lies ahead for this session. And after the panel, we'll have a Q&A session with the audience. So be sure to drop your questions into the chat, and we'll be collecting those throughout each session, and we'll answer those at the end in the Q&A. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Alex to take the floor and get things started with his presentation. So Alex, over to you, and the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Sheridan. Just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. And all right, let's start. Excessive centralization of today's data landscape has led businesses to explore decentralized Web3 based approaches for managing their digital assets and exploring new ways of monetizing their data. As a result, businesses are slowly shifting the central notions and core technologies that have traditionally defined their organization. From information technology to customer experience to management structure and business models. Ocean Protocol is the embodiment of Web3 advances as they apply to data. In simple terms, Ocean offers a set of open software tools that allows data to be shared and monetized while giving data owners privacy and control. By leveraging Web3 blockchain technology and an innovative tokenized ecosystem, Ocean acts as the connecting tissue between data consumers and providers. First and foremost, Ocean makes it possible to set up transparent data marketplaces for anyone to publish and sell data. Ocean also has an innovative computer data function that allows data to be traded and consumed without compromising privacy. Ocean tokens, data NFTs, they protect and certify the ownership. And also they allow fine-grained permission that harness the power of DeFi to provide scalable monetization structures. In short, Ocean allows data owners to publish, curate, discover, and use data services And those services can be accessed by a global market of data consumers, all without a central intermediary and with a fully transparent audit trail. In 2022, ocean technology has been implemented by a variety of enterprise-grade use cases in automotive, mobility, and also ocean technology is playing a key role in various European consortium data space projects, GAIX being one of them. Of particular interest to enterprises is ocean ability to allow compute access without disclosing the content of data, and as well allowing data to be monetized while protecting the privacy of individual digital assets. Another interesting ocean feature for enterprises is audit trails for full transparency, which is a key attribute of distributed ledger technology, or as you know, it's blockchain. Also, because of ocean's federated architecture, there are no lock-in effects, and it's possible to include data and data services from various sources. Of course, bringing Web3 to enterprises comes with some challenges. And the main challenges were security and legal compliance. On the security part, how do you enforce all company policies? How do you translate the roles and permissions that are already in place? On the legal side, how do you comply with the regulations? So let's explore the challenges that we had. Data tokens, are they utility or security tokens? Transferable NFTs, is this compliant with the regulations? Advanced computer data flows, how to preserve security, ownership, role-based access control, how do you enforce rules, and also isolated markets. So let's talk about them one by one. Data tokens. So first, the compliance question was, are data tokens, which are RC20 tokens, utility or security tokens? How can we enforce that they are not going to be labeled as security? And for that, we have designed two RC20 data token templates. The first one acts like any other RC20 token. It has no limitations. Anyone can buy, anyone can hold data tokens in their wallet. Transfers are allowed, so you can freely move data tokens from one wallet to another. The second template, which is used by enterprises, basically it's going to limit those features. You cannot freely buy a data token, and you cannot hold it in your wallet. Data tokens are living just inside one transaction. And inside that transaction, you are going to buy the data token, you are going to order the asset, and the order event is going to be stored on chain, and you are going to burn the data token. Thus, circulating supply is always zero. So again, there cannot be enterprise data tokens in somebody's wallet. For Ocean, it's very important that data NFTs are compliant with the REC 721 standard. But on the enterprise level, that can be problematic in case of transfer. So we took another approach, and when a data NFT is created, we have added an additional option. It's available in the constructor, and the publisher or the market who's publishing that NFT, it's going to decide if that NFT can be transferred, which is the default option, or the transfer option is disabled, meaning that the transfer ownership function is going to revert. Going further, advanced computer data flows. Based on Acentrik use cases, we have developed a variety of scenarios for computer data jobs. The first one, this is the most common concept. You have data sets with PI information and public algorithms. But another use case could be a private algorithm, which is using a public data set. In this scenario, we are going to protect the algorithm code. I don't know, maybe you have a super weather predict algorithm, and obviously no one should be able to see that code, but you are going to apply that on top of a public data set like weather data. Access to weather data is pretty common. There is no PI information. Of course, the third scenario is private algorithm using PI containing data sets. We need to protect both the algorithm code and the data set. And on top of that, we also need to make sure that we are going to enforce all the roles and rules by having allow and deny lists for both data sets and algorithms. So any publisher is going to be able to control who's going to use that data set or algorithm. Next topic was the role-based access control. And obviously the challenge was, how can we enforce enterprise role management? And we built RBAC. RBAC works, I would say, pretty simple. We are going to link wallet addresses to users. And those users are already managed by the enterprise. I don't know, maybe the enterprise is going to use simple auth mechanism or Microsoft Active Directory or LDAP. The RBAC code can be extended to use other solutions because RBAC is an open source tool. And any action at the market level and at the backend components is going to be authorized by RBAC first. So you are going to decide who can publish, who can consume, who can view, and so on. In Web3 world, frontends do not have any processing authorization. They're just going to use whatever is exposed by the smart contracts. That leads to a cool feature for decentralization. Any asset that you are going to publish using the smart contract is going to be visible to all the frontends because they are using the same source of truth. But for enterprises with all those restrictions, regulations, compliance that we have talked about, this doesn't make sense. And mainly because of two perspectives. Your assets are not going to be consumable by other markets because obviously they do not have the necessary permissions. And the second, your enterprise market is going to display assets which are created outside. And for that, when publishing a new asset, we are going to encrypt the metadata. And we can control who's going to be able to decrypt. In our case, we are going to make sure that only Acentrik metadata cache can do that and nobody else. And that asset is not going to be visible in any other market except Acentrik. I will stop here because Elaine is going to dig deeper on this. So that was pretty much from my side. Sheridan, back to you.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. That was a really nice comprehensive overview and great to dive a little deeper and get those insights into the technical capabilities of Ocean and how they're powering the Acentrik marketplace. So I'm sure that there's some questions that has sparked, and please remember to drop them in the chat as we move forward. And we'll be sure to get to them and answer them in the Q&A round at the end. But now let's take a look at Acentrik's potential to ensure seamless data sharing experience for enterprise, for them to realize the full value of data. And for that, I'll invite Elaine Silan, Customer Success Lead of Acentrik at Mercedes-Benz Singapore, to tell us more. Elaine, if you can take the stage, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Sheridan. Yeah, so I hope everybody can see my screen. So hi, everyone, and hello, Ocean community. My name is Elaine Silan, and I am currently the Customer Success Lead for Acentrik under Mercedes-Benz Singapore. So Acentrik started with the idea of how we can leverage the emerging technology of blockchain in order to address certain problems on the data exchange in enterprises. And coming in from an enterprise, we are well aware of the pain points and the challenges surrounding data exchange. So that's how you really decided to leverage on Ocean's tech stack, right? So we had a clear focus in mind, and that is to have a secured and verifiable data exchange between enterprises. So along with the new features that we built or helped build on top of the tech stack and layering it with our web portal, marketplace, and the platform management console, right? We also made sure to still cover the enterprise processes and undergo through proper legal and compliance assessments, covering PDPA, being based in Singapore, and also GDPR as a product operating under Mercedes-Benz, and along with proper KYB process for onboarding. So now let's go through like the top two layers that you see from this diagram and what Acentrik has brought to the table. Yeah. So first, let's talk about the features of Acentrik's global data market. Yeah. So the engineers of Acentrik have closely collaborated with the Ocean team in order to build enterprise-centric features for the marketplace. So some of them, like for example, the fine-grained permissions, were co-developed by our team and was also later on adapted into the main Ocean market. So other features that we have initiated and really advocated for that is already available in Accentrik's marketplace include the usage of enterprise smart contracts, for example. The ability to define parameters to your API type dataset and add HTTP headers, for example. And the ability to directly transfer the earnings to a revenue account and not just via a claim process. And ability to use stablecoins as a mode of payment, among many others, right? So in addition, Acentrik, given that Acentrik also utilizes business email addresses on top of Web3 wallet authentication, we really needed to have a way to manage this information. Hence, Acentrik has built a platform management console, where the admin of the marketplace can manage this information, manage enterprise contracts and respective user accounts, including their associated wallets and roles. Yeah. So in the next slide, I'll be talking more about the distributed architecture and how edge nodes are utilized in a B2B market. So as an enterprise-centric global data market, Acentrik promotes the use of distributed architecture for enterprises. Usually, bigger corporates would never have their data assets exposed in a publicly accessible endpoint, right? But through a simple Kubernetes container setup within a data provider's environment, which we refer to as edge nodes in Acentrik. Probably in the Ocean community, it's more known as the provider component. So they can connect their private data asset endpoint on one end and Acentrik on the other end. So this thing ensures that there is a complete data sovereignty for a data provider, right? Because the data stays within their own environment. And in cases of computed data, it gets processed and computed within their own edge computing infrastructure as well. So this entire marketplace architecture setup of Acentrik has also been reviewed and certified by AWS, having fulfilled the security and safety pillars of the well-architected framework. So making Acentrik also an official AWS partner. So aside from that, applying also the tokenization capability that natively comes from the Ocean stack, it takes data sovereignty one step further by allowing data owner to have full control and ownership of their data assets in the marketplace via the asset management token, which is the ERC721 token standard. So at the same time, data owners also in Acentrik can get to decide who should have or should not have access to their data set. And that's the main reason why we built the fine-grained permissions, right? Because it's important to understand how an enterprise user will utilize the marketplace. So within an organization, you probably have a group of people, right? But among these people, maybe only one person, yeah, should have access to be a data provider or right as a data consumer, right? But maybe this person should not also be allowed to use his personal wallet and should only be using their corporate Web3 wallet, right? So this is where RBAC comes into picture, yeah. So within Acentrik, marketplace roles, which could either be a provider role, a consumer role, maybe both, right? Or a user read-only role, can be tagged to a combination of user profile and wallet. And at the same time, yeah, asset level permissions are also possible. Yeah, because data providers can add email domain or a wallet address in their allow or deny list. Yeah, so this can later on also be extended to other credential types. Yeah, for example, in the future. For example, maybe based on a country or based in the industry. And that is possible because all of the participants in the marketplace are known to us, right? Now we're talking about the second layer, the enterprise processes. Yeah. So to ensure that the legal and security aspects of being a participant in a business to business or B2B marketplace, we have introduced the enterprise agreement to our process, which is basically a legal document between, that cover a legal document that covers the terms and conditions and obligations, not only of the enterprise customer, right, but also of Acentrik as a platform. Yeah. So this is then signed by authorized signatories between Mercedes-Benz Singapore as Accentrik's parent company and the enterprise. Yeah. So in addition to that, to also comply with AML regulations, yeah, we have a wallet screening process in place. Yeah, so we use a certain tool that scans through a wallet's transaction even before the marketplace permissions are granted. Yeah, so we use the same tool for continuous monitoring as well to make sure that the wallet that is used in our marketplace doesn't associate with illegal or suspicious activities, that can later cause troubles. Yeah. So, of course, we know that SSI or self-sovereign identities is something that we want to look at in the future, that we are currently looking at, So, of course, especially when the demand arises. With all that being said, so Acentrik is one horizontal technology across multiple industries. Yeah, so let's take, for example, within the mobility and supply chain industry, right? So vehicles in the market, usually they would collect sensor data that alerts you of road conditions or hazards within a defined regions, right? A logistics company can take this information, combine it with their, let's say, scheduling algorithm, right, in order to plan for optimal routes for delivery or for cost efficiency. Yeah, and that is just one of the many possible use cases that we have for a cross-industry data exchange. So I'd like to close this presentation by saying that Acentrik is not just a data marketplace. Sure, you can publish and consume data like any other market, but does it provide the flexibility of making data more accessible? That is, does it ensure that sovereignty and privacy is there for the data owner? And is it secure and verifiable? So the answer is yes. And what we have here is not just a data marketplace, it's the future of the data exchange. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening to that presentation. We also invite you to explore the marketplace via our website and also connect with us in LinkedIn for future events and updates. Thank you.
Elaine, thank you very much for the presentation. It was great to hear more about how Acentrik is advancing this new data economy and how Acentrik is also using Ocean with decentralized data orchestrations at the core. For all the participants who have questions for Elaine, just please make sure that you drop them in the chat. I already see some there, and we'll answer them in just a bit. When it comes to data, Web3 technology clearly offers many compelling advantages for enterprises. And having worked in Web3 for a while now, it's really exciting to see how businesses are increasingly embracing decentralized approaches. So these way they facilitate managing their digital asset and exploring new ways to monetize data using Web3. On one side, I could say we could argue that there is a notable shift from traditional centralized approaches that have defined organizations in the past towards increasingly federated architectures that are ensuring for interoperability at scale, as well as offering viable alternatives to today's overly centralized data landscapes. And that's exactly what Ocean and Acentrik are all about. On that note, so let's move back onto the panel discussion. Just please allow me to extend a warm welcome to today's panelists. In addition to Alex Coseru, VP of Engineering, Ocean Protocol, who we heard from earlier, we're also joined by two special guests, Srikanth and Pierre. Srikanth is General Manager and Principal Architect of Emerging Technologies at Mercedes-Benz Singapore and has managed the Acentrik project over the last 2 years. Srikanth played an instrumental role in the strategic development of Acentrik leading up to its launch earlier this year and continues to lead the Acentrik team. So welcome, Srikanth. And Pierre is partner at Roland Berger. Pierre has been in crypto since 2015 and currently leads Roland Berger's global crypto economy team out in Dubai. So Pierre has extensive hands-on experience in the growth of digital asset projects for large corporations and governments. So welcome, Pierre, as well. It's great to have you here, the three of you today. So I would say, Srikanth, I'll let you start with the first question. How do you think Web3 drives innovation from an enterprise point of view?
Yeah, first of all, many thanks to the Ocean team for organizing this event. When I also heard about this event, I thought it is also very important to share with the community the work that we have done over the last 2 years, having this strong technology partnership. So also to highlight about all the technology work that we have done behind the scenes to also bring Acentrik to where it is right now. So many thanks to the Ocean team for organizing this. Coming back to the topic of Web3, usually within the corporate, and I'm also seeing it within other corporates, that it is mainly looking into two directions. One is the enterprise use case perspective. How can Web3 and blockchain be used for business applications which can solve some problems for the corporate world or for the industry? Acentrik is a perfect example for that. On the other side, we are also looking into the hype that is going on with NFT and all that. So a lot of corporates we are seeing, including us, we are entering into that space, but not just sell NFTs as an image, but also tagging real world benefits towards it. So there are a lot of areas that we are seeing. But over the last 3-4 years since I've been in this space, and last 2 years building products for corporates, internal products and external products, what I also observed was more and more players are entering into this space. Capability building is happening. Couple of years back, we did not have the real blockchain experts within our company, but now we have a team of blockchain experts, not just on the development side, but also on the cross-functional knowledge. So that is one area that we are definitely improving, but obviously there is a lot more to improve on. But on the other side, what I'm also observing is even within the strategic initiatives, like for example, GaiaX and KitinaX, there are also these tokenization aspects being looked upon, right? So I think we will soon see a future where some of the Web2 applications will also migrate into the Web3 world to leverage certain aspects of Web3. And this is happening because I was also told to look after some internal applications that we can migrate to Web3. And obviously, Web3 is not an isolated technology, but it also have these surrounding technologies that is required to scale it up and to complement it. But that's an exciting space that we are in. And on top of it, obviously, we're also seeing a lot of corporates joining the council memberships, and we ourselves joined the Sora consortium. A lot of companies are also joining this blockchain networks, being the node validators. So it is an exciting space, and I think we are moving at a stage where the companies are also realizing that Web3 is not just about the cryptocurrencies and the NFT, but the technology can be used, and it will definitely disrupt multiple industries.
So I think I'm jumping back in here. Can everyone hear me? Is this
yes,
better now?
We can hear you. Now we can hear you.
And I'm really apologize for that technical glitch before, but moving right along, Pierre, we obviously want to hear from you. And zooming out a bit, you kind of have the big picture of Web3. So how do you think mass adoption will work for Web3 moving forward?
Yeah, really good question. So I think it's probably going to be, I mean, it's definitely going to be a combination of some bottom-up factors and some top-down factors. So maybe just from a bottom-up point of view, like what is missing for Web3 adoption today? The main reason for, let's say, lacking adoption is the user experience, right? It's the usability of things. So as many people that want to interact with the crypto economy in general, or Web3 in general, many of them are intimidated by just using it, right? So, I mean, for us, using MetaMask or any other wallet is not a problem, but people feel intimidated. So one big catalyst for mass adoption for sure is improving the user experience. And then when it comes to corporate adoption, see, corporates more and more understand that they need to have a position in the crypto economy. And by the way, we just did a survey with over 150 executives and asked them about what is their prime kind of business opportunity that they see in the space. And the prime opportunity they see is Web3 in the data economy. So they're very well aware of this trend. However, we also asked them what's like the number one thing that needs to be fixed in order to have a catalyst for adoption, and that was digital identity. So as corporates, and we saw that in the previous presentation, need to understand who they're dealing with and who they are interacting with when doing business in a trustless environment, a digital identity, a self-sovereign digital identity is key.
So lots of issues you touch on there. That report sounded really interesting. I'm sure that our audience would be interested in that as well. Maybe there's some way to share something at the end about how we can look at that, if that's public yet. I don't know, but definitely great to have your perspective. And thank you for those insights. Alex, turning to you, this question is for you. So it'd be great if you could tell us a little bit more about Web3 onboarding experience and how you can see that from your side, from a technical perspective. I think Pierre mentioned a little bit of the user experience. How does that relate maybe to a bit about the Web3 onboarding experience?
Yeah, I'm just going to double down on what Pierre said. To be honest, Web3 onboarding is not easy, especially for enterprise environments. And this is something that we, as members of the Web3 community, definitely we need to improve. I mean, Web3, it's pretty easy for DeFi traders. It has some small hiccups for average token holders. When going further, let's say for data scientists, well, again, just to be honest, is not the best experience. They need tokens to pay. They need another set of tokens to pay for gas fees. And sometimes there are no easy paths to get those tokens. And going further on the line, dealing with enterprises, well, they have financial departments, they have legal departments, and legit questions like, how do I invoice a token transfer? Is it compliant with the regulations? How can my IT department going to trust MetaMask or any other wallet? How are you going to deal with all those enterprise rules? And this is why Daimler team took so much effort in building this with us. And at the end, we managed to solve all those issues. But I think there are a few issues that might need some improvement. Maybe, I don't know, I was talking with Srikanth a few days ago about gasless transaction for Acentrik users. Definitely, that's going to make the onboard process of other enterprises much smoother.
Right, thanks. So it's on the one hand, it's technical, but on the other hand, it's also operational. and legal as well. So yeah, thank you very much for that insight from your side. Srikanth, coming back to you, right now Acentrik obviously is in version 1.0, right? And it just launched and getting going, starting to ramp up. What will version 2.0 entail, and what updates will that mean for the Acentrik marketplace?
Before I answer that question, I think I also want to emphasize a bit on what Alex has said and also what Elaine has presented.
Sure.
The work that we have done behind the scenes for Acentrik 1.0. So building a data marketplace based on Web3 for large enterprises is, of course, there are a lot of aspects that we need to consider, and that was primarily the work that we have done. And technology is the easy part. We have the technology ready. We work together with Ocean. We develop certain features. But what are the topics that we paid a lot of emphasis on is the legal, the compliance, and the security aspects. And we had multiple bilateral discussions with different legal departments, not just from the platform perspective, but also in terms of the data sharing. It could be a corporate data protection, telecommunication law. So there are a lot of legal topics that we covered. And I think we also have an internal process for data sharing externally, just like most of the corporates have. And also from the security perspective, there are two aspects again. One is on the Web 2 layer, the other one is on the Web 3 layer. And for Web 2, this is where we also work closely with AWS, and we are an AWS partner. We have ticked all the boxes which are required for the FTR, Foundational Technical Review, and Acentrik has been designed to be the well-architected within the well-architected framework. And for Web3, we use the smart contract audit report from Ocean. On top of it, there was penetration testing, everything that was done. And on top of it, Elaine also mentioned about anti-money laundering process and all those things, the wallet screening. So there was a lot of process-related things that we covered. And with Acentrik 1.0, we believe that the base functionalities and base process that we require for onboarding corporates is done. Now, Acentrik 2.0 is mostly about taking the product to the next level. So it could mean that we are giving users a Web2-like experience, which is removing the gas fees and things like that. So for right now, we deployed on Polygon technology, but we are also looking into other blockchain networks. So that's definitely the direction that we are looking at, because in some cases, the private blockchain could also be an option, right? And we want to deploy Acentrik on multiple networks and give that option back to the enterprises, whether they prefer a public blockchain or a private blockchain. And on top of it, we also want to have this relayer mechanism to ensure that there are, we remove the limitations and make the gasless transactions. On top of it, and if I am also looking into the far-fetched vision of Acentrik, it is also about developing something like an app studio on top of Acentrik, where enterprises or developer community can build decentralized applications and list it on Acentrik, and underlying it uses the data points from the products that are listed within Acentrik. So that is a vision that we have from Acentrik as such, from the global data marketplace perspective. On top of it, we also keep getting this request. They're interested in the technology, but can Acentrik also be used for a particular domain, or even within a company, for example? They want to ensure decentralization and this edge computing capabilities within the organization or within a specific domain, like healthcare, like supply chain or whatever it is. These are also the options that we are gearing towards. How do we make this deployment faster? So global data marketplace will be one instance of Acentrik technology. Likewise, you can also imagine multiple instances that might be coming out. And the last point that I also want to highlight is the compute to data feature is a very powerful engine. Right now, we have developed it to some extent together with Ocean in terms of having this distributed architecture, having certain pod filtering kind of concepts in place. But we also want to extend it to something like federated learning, which will open up a lot more use cases in the corporate space. So as I said, the base is covered from the process perspective, from the legal compliance perspective. Now we will also develop more products within the Acentrik landscape. So that's the direction we are moving towards.
Nice. Very exciting. Thanks for those insights. And obviously, there's more to come, and you have pretty bold vision moving forward. And maybe picking up on one of your points, and looking at Pierre here with respect to other verticals and expanding out beyond the current scope. Pierre, based on your experience, how do you see opportunities for corporates and governments in adopting Web3 and the new data economy?
Yeah, I think there's a big opportunity, and it goes a bit hand in hand with what I mentioned in the beginning. I mean, the results of our executive survey exactly underline that, like the main opportunity that people see in the corporate, let's say, executive levels is the new data economy. I think there is a huge potential in two dimensions. First one is, if we look at the classic kind of Web 2 versus Web 3 story, then obviously we have an issue with Web 2, and Web 3 can help demonopolize what happened in Web 2. So a lot of corporates that kind of missed the train a bit on the platform hype, so to say, on building platforms and creating this data monopolies, now see the opportunity to take Web 2 business models and put them into Web 3, right? And use data that they so far were not able to monetize out of various reasons, and reasons are not only availability of data, but in particular missing incentive systems, which now thanks to Ocean we actually have, and hence I would expect there are a lot of, let's say, verticals from healthcare to obviously automotive, where Acentrik is already leading, to aerospace and defense, to energy in particular, building up data marketplaces to further kind of grow business opportunities. The second part I see is more of a bottom-up case again, because if you recall, we had let's say a lot of emphasis starting like 4 or 5 years ago on this entire smart city movement, right? So cities were really putting an effort into becoming smart, but there's only so much smartness you can get top down. Now, for the first time, with kind of this data sharing incentives and marketplaces, we have the opportunity to incentivize us as consumers and individuals to actually share data. And with sharing that data, basically new business models will emerge that finally can make use of very relevant data of smart citizens, so to say. Again, only asterisk I want to put there is all with self-sovereign identity, so with your consent.
Got it. Yeah. So top down, bottom up, we'll meet Ocean in the middle, and then leverage all the opportunities in between. Very, very encouraging, obviously, and great that you see so much promise ahead. I think that we share your enthusiasm as well, and are very encouraged. So maybe Alex, from a more technical perspective, and shifting gears back to Acentrik now, could you tell us a little bit more about how Acentrik ensures the right level of access control and publishing restrictions on the marketplace, and maybe link to that, how does Ocean enable this with respect to the access control?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. So in my previous slides, I was talking about RBAC, the role-based access control. Let's deep dive a little bit into that. In the Web 2 world, you have roles and permissions which are managed by a centralized platform. In Web 3, you have level of accesses that are enforced by the smart contracts. And the smart contracts are relying to one thing, the account or the address who is triggering an action at the smart contract level. Of course, the problem is anyone can create a new address. So how are you going to pair that with the enterprise role management platform? And there is another issue. Usually a smart contract cannot access off-chain data. Technically speaking, they can, if you are going to use, I don't know, oracles, gateways, but that's super expensive and has a high latency. So this is where RBAC comes into play. We can link Acentrik account platform to addresses. So we are going to say address X belongs to user A. And then on the user level, we can define the roles if they are not defined already. So we can decide, is that address belonging to that user allowed to publish a data set? Can that user log into the platform? Is that user allowed to edit a certain data set? Can that user consume a certain data set? RBAC is the connecting tissue between Web 2 and Web 3. It connects all the off-chain components like metadata cache, provider, and every request to those components is authorized by RBAC first.
So that RBAC is obviously very innovative and very powerful, and also enabling a lot of features there within the marketplace, and is with Acentrik as well. So thank you for that, Alex. Back to you, Srikanth. Obviously, we've touched on a lot of challenges here in the Web3 enterprise space, and it's a huge undertaking to develop a Web3 product for enterprise. How do you personally stay motivated and on track facing all these, challenges that you have to navigate?
Well, to start with, it's not easy. I can actually say that. And this is because of various reasons. One, you are working on a technology which is fast growing, but it is still not mainstream yet. The second one is also, when you are dealing with the data space, it is always very critical, because data is considered as one of the most valuable asset for any company. So when you are sharing data, obviously there are a lot of things that comes together. And during this course of building Acentrik, we also realized that there are a lot of times when we try to set up a process for enterprises, there was no such industry standard that is available. So a lot of times we alone have to come up with something which is feasible for all corporates, not just from the Mercedes-Benz perspective, but all for all the corporates to enter. But on the other side, this is probably the most happening space in the whole technology world right now. The Web3, we are seeing diverse use cases from Web3. Not just about NFT, but also about the blockchain, enterprise applications, DeFi, and things like that. And it's super exciting to be in this space, because the nature of my job also involves talking to the community, talking to technology partners like Ocean, talking to other business point of contacts and technology point of contacts from other corporates. And there's so much evolving every day, right? It's not business as usual for me. Every day there's some learning. There's a lot of feed that we get in LinkedIn about the series funding or new product launches or anything. So there's a lot of information to digest, and that is exciting and motivating for me, because things are changing so fast every day, and you have to keep up to with all the updates that you are receiving.
Definitely, yeah. You take a short break for a week and you come back and things might be completely changed. You have to watch out.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks for sharing that. And obviously it's a very dynamic and quickly changing space. Pierre, back to you, and Srikanth touched a little bit about data. And with respect to the Web3 landscape, how do you see the future of data evolving in Web3? And in that regard, how would you position Acentrik in leading this change?
Yeah, a good question. So I think, first of all, the Acentrik team has done a fantastic job, and they've clearly taken kind of the first mover advantage now of being kind of the first professional initially corporate-backed data marketplace that is using the technology. So I think there's going to be a lot of head start that you guys have, which is great. Srikanth touched upon it already in the beginning a bit and mentioned other verticals. So I think this technology is really vertical agnostic, so to say. So you could probably venture out in all different sectors, in all different traditional sectors where we have a data problem today. And actually, I can't think of a single sector that doesn't have a data problem today. So from that point of view, I think there is a lot of potential. Maybe just some final thoughts also where we see kind of the trends going forward now. We obviously know, we had the DeFi summer, we had the GameFi and Metaverse hype, and I think what we're seeing right now evolving is mainly trends around regenerative finance. So this is all about, let's say, certifying environmental commodities, which essentially is also nothing else than data in that regard. So that could also be an interesting field for Acentrik to venture into. and certification of that. And the second is DeSci, so decentralized science. So now finally with these data incentive mechanisms, I think there's a lot of potential on enabling decentralized science, whether it's creating new insights through power of data, using computer data algorithms over data sets that were not allowed to be shared beforehand, and maybe also looking into patent management and IP management.
So lots of opportunities with respect to the future of data in Web3, and something that that anyone, not only Acentrik, could consider looking closely at, or more closely at, and potentially moving forward, because it seems as if things are evolving there. Last question, Alex, to you, and more from a technical side. Srikanth also mentioned compute to data and how important it is for Acentrik, and seeing that it's so important, are there future developments planned?
All right, my favorite topic. Srikanth was saying earlier that about federated learning. That's already work in progress, but there are more features, and maybe I can give you some insights. The first feature most likely is going to be multi-stage computing. In the current setup, yeah, it's easy to have a job that's going to take an input, it's going to process that, and it's going to output a result. But what if you have several steps in your flow? Like you have a bunch of input data sets and not just one. You need to fetch them, you need to normalize them, and then you need to merge them into a common format. And only after that, you are going to train your model. Obviously, this can be done right now. You are going to trigger the first step, you are going to wait for it to finish, you are going to fetch the results, and then feed those results to a second job, wait for it to finish, and etc. Multi-stage computing is going to allow you to define a sequence of jobs. And as a data scientist or as an Acentrik user, you are only going to trigger that flow once. And then you are going to wait for it to finish, and you are going to fetch the final result. Another interesting feature is secure execution. This will further decentralize compute data by making sure that both data sets and algorithms are encrypted, and they can only be decrypted at the CPU level. Something like Intel SGX extensions. And as a last topic, homomorphic encryption is also on our research boards, because this technology has really advanced lately. And I think those new features are going to remove the trust barrier between publishers and computer data environments.
Wow, cool. So you're super busy there, Alex.
Yeah, always.
We're fitting in all of that into your day. Great. And obviously, there's lots that we've covered here in this panel. So thank you, Alex. Thank you, Srikanth. Thank you, Pierre. Big thanks to all the panelists. It was great to hear all these different impressions and insights from your sides, ranging from very detailed technical comments up to big industry trends. So thank you for joining the discussion today. And with that, actually, we kind of close the more formal panel round of questions, but we have gathered a lot of interesting questions from the audience. So if you guys could kind of stick around, we'll field some of those questions to you, and actually start with one for Srikanth. So Varun asked a question: who are the end consumers of Acentrik? At least that's how it's stated here. Functions, industries, companies, individuals, etc. So maybe Srikanth, you could elaborate on the end consumers of Acentrik a bit more.
Yeah, I can give you perspectives on that. First of all, Acentrik, we often, if you also hear our pitch, we often say that this is a horizontal technology for multiple verticals, multiple domains, not just for automotive and not just for Mercedes-Benz, but for different domains, different regions. In consumers, I want to answer it in two ways. One is we have the global data marketplace, which is B2B. So it is only for corporates and enterprises to come on board, and they can be from automotive industry, or they can be from any industry, and they can be from any region. Right now, we have it covered from the legality perspective, certain legal restrictions from locations. But what we are also, which is work in progress, is making Acentrik fully GDPR compliant, and then we will also cover the US-based laws, so to also enter into the US market. So, long story short, it can be any domain, any region, who can onboard, any enterprise who can onboard into the global data marketplace. The second one, which we have, is a custom deployment, which is more of a white label solution. This is a very specific scenario. And this is something which can be B2B, B2C, or it can also be B2G for the governments. And it can be specific to a particular industry. So if a healthcare company comes to us and say that they want to build this white label version of Acentrik specific to healthcare departments or healthcare companies, then it will be very specific to that domain. So you will have a lot more flexibility there, because you can, it depends on the user requirements, right? If a consultancy company is coming and they're offering to their clients, or a company from a particular domain is coming and they offer it to a specific domain. So you'll have wide options on the custom deployment side, but for on the global marketplace, it will be B2B, domain agnostic and market agnostic.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Srikanth. You're popular. The next question is also for you, and obviously it's nice to have you here so you can answer these specific questions about Acentrik. This one comes from Kai, and he's asking, did you already look into Polygon ID integration to cover the SSI side of things?
Yes and no. We did explore SSI, but not with Polygon ID, simply because we were experimenting at that stage when Polygon ID was not launched. And we did a very simple proof of concept with certain SSI partners there. For me, where we got stuck with the SSI is that we want to go global in our approach, onboard companies globally within different regions. And this is also something, anyone from the community, if they have any bright ideas on the SSI solution, please feel free to reach out to us. We are happy to have that conversation. But what we are actually looking at is SSI implementation, can we make it global so any enterprise can onboard into that? Something with the verifier, trusted partners, everything, and not specific to a particular region. So this is a solution that we're trying to figure out. However, having said that, the technology we built with the Acentrik and with Ocean, it is in a way flexible to onboard SSI. So you can have this combination. You can, right now we have a Web 2 as a registration and Web 3 for the transactions, but we also built in a way that if tomorrow we want to enter into a particular market or use case with SSI, it can coexist along with this Web 2 solution. So the metadata will still be the same, just that instead of Web 2 login, they will use SSI login, and the main transactions will still be Web 3. So again, as I said, we are still trying to figure out whether it is something which can be offered globally or for a specific needs. But any ideas on this SSI solution, how it can be integrated with Acentrik, are hugely welcome.
Okay, obviously looking at that from different angles and have already started working on that. Thank you very much. By the way, in case the audience is wondering what happened to Pierre, he had to step out. He enjoyed being here. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and he has left this chat, so unfortunately he won't be able to answer any questions. But given the time, we actually have one more question that we can ask Alex in this occasion, and the other questions that have come in we will be able to answer after the event, and we'll be posting those. So you'll find the answers to later. But Alex, the last question is coming to you, and this one is from Varun, and he asked, while I can monetize my data set, can I also monetize my algorithm as an engineer?
Short answer, yes. In Ocean, we do have assets, and all the assets are using the same flow. It doesn't matter if your asset is a data set or it's an algorithm. Once you are going to publish your asset, you can price it. So if anyone is going to use your asset, either for download or in a computer data job, they still have to pay for it. Obviously, unless you are going to make it free. So yeah, short answer, yeah, definitely.
Cool, great. Well, with that, we kind of wrap up this session. Thanks to both of you. Obviously, thanks also to Elaine and Pierre, who weren't on the stage now, but thanks to everyone for joining and for participating. Thanks for all your questions. Again, the questions that we didn't get to in the Q&A we'll be answering following the event. And we certainly will be having more exciting events for you. So stay tuned and keep an eye on this space. And thanks everyone for joining, and bye from my side.